Greetings, fanboys and fangirls. Jared here with another review from Fanboys Forever. Today we're going to be taking a look at another item from the new The Batman range of products from Spin Master. Of course, these products are based on the new movie that is getting ready to be released this coming week, and it's a very exciting time, of course, for the Batman fandom. Of course, today we're going to be having a look at the Batman and Lieutenant Gordon police car set. This is apparently a Walmart exclusive here in the United States. It'll cost you around $32 and is currently available on the Walmart website, and you can also find it in store, which is the way that I found it. Alright, let's go ahead and have a look at the box. As you can see, it utilizes that really cool artwork up there in the upper right corner, and you can see Batman and Gordon as well as the police car and accessories proudly on display. On the back of the box, we get incredibly flattering renders of the two included figures. They don't look quite that good, but the renders are very optimistic. And of course, you can see the police car and also how you can open it up and put the figures inside. And at the bottom of the box, here is the UPC, just in case you need it. All right, without further ado, let's get it open. And here we have the set out of the packaging. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the figures that it came with before we get to the main event, which would be the police car. For as funny as it is to say, this is the first time I've actually been able to select a paint sample of the standard Batman figure from a wide variety of them in store, and it's made all the difference. You can see that I've actually gotten a sample where this is the main area you have to look at here. The black is actually in line with the bottom of the cowl, and it also goes away in improving the Pattinson likeness. And he does come with several accessories, including the chest armor that we saw in the Batcave set. That can go right over the chest, improving some of the accuracy of the figure to the screen counterpart, because I think he does need a little bit more bulk in the chest area, and I think this does the job nicely, so I actually do think that looks pretty good. This is also the first way I've been able to get a hold of his grappling gun. Usually this just comes in the standard figure release, but it's very important that you don't really buy any of those if you plan on being a completist for the line, because you can practically get all that stuff in vehicle packs and playsets. Of course, the grappling gun looks good in his hand, but I think the elephant in the room is the strange orange-red coloring. As many fans know, DC is really clamping down on the inclusion of any type of gun-looking device, even if it's, not a gun, that comes with any figure. So I suppose that in the spirit of that, Spin Master was required to make this reddish-orange, which is a real shame. As we all know, it should be black, and it is Batman's grapnel launcher, so I think that was really silly on their part. But hey, I guess I could always dye it black, with some kind of synthetic grit dye if I had to, but I probably don't care enough. It's worth noting Batman comes with two of these Batarangs, but they look a whole lot like Batman's chest logo. Guess we'll see when we watch the movie. Anyway, though, these look really cool. I think the sculpting is really nice. Just be careful, because as you get them out of the packaging, it's very easy to stress and bend the middle of the plastic there. So with the second one that I got out, I actually just cut the packaging around it so that I wouldn't have to stress the middle. There's also this interesting knife accessory included, but I can't be 100% sure if this is for Gordon or Batman. Batman has all the same articulation we've seen in previous reviews, with the head able to turn. The arms have really decent hinge. They can go all the way around. It swivels at the elbow. There's a barely there elbow hinge right there, but it kind of works, I guess. There's nothing at the waist. You can do the splits. You can put the leg up really high for a good kick. And there's a pretty good hinge right there. There's a swivel at the knee, and there is a swivel at the hip up here. But that's it, with nothing at the ankles. Great Batman figure, especially if you get to pick out a decent paint sample. Here is the latest release compared with the one that came with the Batmobile, and you can see that the paint mask is much better matched up along that edge of the cowl. Here there's a little too much flesh tone, and it makes a big difference and makes this one look much better. And here he is alongside the one that came in the Batcave. Of course, this is the one that is unmaskable. So you can see that you've got the raccoon eyes version of Bruce Wayne there. And they look pretty cool together, but they're just very different things. Here he is beside of the Batman from the bike set that has all the kind of battle damage or roughing up. Here he is beside of that Catwoman. And here he is beside of the Penguin from the Batcave set. And here is probably the main draw of the set itself. This is the Jeffrey Wright Lieutenant Gordon action figure. This is, as far as anyone knows, the only way to get the Lieutenant Gordon figure from the line. This is, of course, in the same 3 3/4 scale that the other figures have been in that we have looked at. And let's go ahead and take a look at the figure very closely. Of course, the first thing I'll point out is he too has fallen victim to the orange. I'm not even really sure if this is modeled after something we'll see in the film. It looks very science fiction, almost like something that maybe you would see in Blade Runner or something. So I'm just not really sure. It looks a little silly, so I'm going to go ahead and take it out of his hands. It's important to note that this is a Lieutenant Gordon figure, not Commissioner, as in the film this is early on in the Gotham City kind of timeline, so he is not quite yet the Commissioner of the police force. Let's start out with that sculpt. I actually think this is a pretty decent cartoony likeness to Jeffrey Wright. I love Jeffrey Wright, and if you take any time to watch him in anything, he is always fantastic. So I've been very excited from day one about him playing Jim Gordon. I think that he looks great in the part, and I think this figure is a fair representation of him as the character. I like that they got the hair right. They have his hairline correct. They have the texture right. It even looks good from the back. I think the probably biggest pitfall of the figure is how big the eyes are, and it kind of gives him a kind of cartoony look. But at this scale, I can also understand how difficult it is to apply those very small tampographic details. And although it's not an exact match for Jeffrey Wright, I think it is plenty good enough. They have the glasses, they have the mustache, and I think it's fairly recognizable. I do see a slight amount of Richard Pryor in there from some angles. I don't know. I think maybe you could do some Superman 3 customs if you really wanted to. Not sure why you would, but hey, there's a possibility there. But I see just a little bit of Richard Pryor there. And hey, I love Richard Pryor, so there you go. The suit body is actually really good. I like that it's kind of bulky and more suits the frame of Jeffrey Wright. I also like that there's little details like the belt kind of slumping down just a little bit. The collar is a little more loose fitting. I also like the detail with the kind of wrinkles and things in the pants, the dress slacks. Looks good from the side. It's also worth mentioning that Lieutenant Gordon has a neat little kind of spray on the chin there to show Jeffrey Wright's 5 o'clock shadow that's featured quite prominently in the movie. So I think that works out pretty well. Let's go ahead and talk about articulation with this guy, as we've never exactly seen a figure like this in the Spin Master lineup before. You can see that the head goes left to right. There's really no up and down movement whatsoever, so it's just a left and right situation. It can go all the way around. Here, there's some really nice hinges there, so I think that looks nice. You can bring the arm all the way around. There is a swivel at the elbow. There is a really good hinge at the elbow. I wish Batman's hinge was that functional, but it isn't. So, yeah, Gordon has him beat there. This, you would swear, is an articulation point, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you just think for sure that would have to be some kind of waist swivel? But as far as I can tell, it's not. It definitely feels glued in. I'm not getting mine to move. Maybe if I heated it up or maybe put it in some hot water for a while, maybe it would. But no Spin Master figure ever from the DC stuff that I can tell anyway has a waist swivel. I suppose they're not going to start now. There is some limitations down here at the legs. The splits aren't really happening at all because of the coat piece. So this is kind of what you can get. I think this is all Gordon could probably do, so that's fine with me. Also, you can raise the leg up just about that much, so it's not that bad. You can also bend the knee, and it's a really good hinge, so that works. Thigh swivel up here, a knee swivel. There's nothing at the ankles, so Gordon ends up having the exact same level of articulation that Batman and Catwoman and the Penguin and every other Spin Master figure practically always have. So it's not bad, but it's nothing revolutionary either. Because of the bizarrety of the waist joint, I'm starting to wonder if Spin Master is somehow contractually limited on the articulation points they can put in their figures. That sounds crazy, but I know it's a real thing for a lot of companies. I know that I've heard the people from Diamond Select talk about in the past that their contract with Marvel stipulated that they couldn't have over so many points of articulation for the figures. Maybe a similar thing going on here. Spin Master doesn't have the collector's license for Batman. They have the kids license, and it's a very different thing, so they can't really compete with the McFarlane points of articulation. Probably a non-competition clause in that contract somewhere that keeps them from doing it. I'm practically convinced after seeing the waist joint not move on this guy. Let's do a couple of scale comparisons. There is a fairly dramatic height difference between he and Batman, but I do feel this is fairly appropriate. And by that same token, Penguin is a little bit larger than Jim Gordon as well. He's more in line with Batman. And in that same way, Catwoman is also larger than Jim Gordon, probably because of the big heels that she's wearing. So Jim Gordon ends up being quite a bit smaller than everybody else in the line. Not sure if that lines up with Jeffrey Wright's actual height compared to these other actors, but I think it looks fairly decent like this. And of course, I would expect Batman to be a little bit taller than Jim Gordon. The one thing I wouldn't expect is the Penguin to be so much taller, but I suppose that he's not a very short fellow in the movie either, so that's that. I wasn't completely sold on Gordon when I first saw pictures of him, and even when I first saw him in the packaging, but having him out and having him in hand, he's just such a fun figure, and he definitely is fun to pose around, and I think that the likeness is there as well as it needs to be, and I'm definitely very happy to own him. Like I said, I think the one thing that would have improved it would be maybe some tighter eye application. I think mine's plenty straight and all of that, but it just ends up looking a little large, but still very serviceable for this scale of figure. Keep in mind, this is only about 4.5 inches tall. It becomes considerably easier to forgive. As you can see, this is the way that you'll probably actually be seeing the figure, so it definitely does the job. And since I failed to mention it before, the background that you can see is the Spin Master Batcave playset from the new film. Getting the figures out of the way, let's go ahead and look at this police car. Now, of course, we've already looked at the Batmobile in this line and this same scale, but this is the first time that I have ever seen Spin Master attempt to do a full-scale car of something that wasn't the Batmobile in the DC line. They may have done something else, but I can't remember it. And I have to say, I think overall they were fairly successful here. I think everything is at least fairly accurate to what I've seen from the film, set pictures and things and snippets from the trailer. Here along the side, you can see the decals for the Gotham City Police Department. It does do kind of a funny thing right there where it seems to go down and doesn't quite line up, but it's very minor. You can see they even have a gas cap. Moving on to the back, you see the Gotham City Police Department and the license plate, the number, there's the lights on the top, and of course at the bottom you have all this cool engine detail. What's really funny though is this big empty portion to save a little money on plastic, but the rest of it looks nice. You can see that the wheels have lots of good detail. Nice little hubcaps there. Of course these are white, which seem a little distracting. Probably would have been better if those were silver, but a Sharpie might fix that up. The front looks really nice. You can see there's a nice front plate and a grille there, and just the hood of the car looks good as well. You can see it is a transparent canopy, so you can see inside. The Batmobile had all kinds of action features and things and sounds and lights. This doesn't have any of that, but it does have a cool canopy that can open up. So you just use this tab on the front, and it just opens up like so, making it a convertible. You can, I would say, easily pull this right off, and you could make it a convertible, I guess, if you wanted to. I don't think it looks very good that way, but this just comes off very easily, so I did want to show you that, and it goes back on fairly easy as well. There's some nice detail on the seats there. Just like the Batmobile, this is a two-seater. I do enjoy all the little details there along the dash. The steering wheel is not a separate piece, unfortunately it's molded in. You have some little console details right there. There's enough room for two figures very easily, and there's even storage here in the back for different items and things. So that helps as well to give a little bit of extra playability. Of course, you'll want to have him like this, and we'll just set him in. As you can see, it's a very natural fit. He's kind of laying back a little bit, but I think it looks pretty good, and it works. If Batman's got the Batmobile in the shop, he can sit right here beside of his buddy, and it is off to the races. So let's go ahead and see if the canopy will close. And sure enough, there they both are. You can even see them merrily making their way to the street. There's Gordon, he's dancing to something that they're listening to. Batman isn't amused. Yeah, it's a good time. Yeah, they're pals. You can even kind of see them from the side. What are you looking at? Sorry, let me do it, Jeffrey Wright. What are you looking at? Stop it. It's pretty fun, you know. I think it works. It works. There's also a couple of other fun options you can do. So in the back here, you notice that there's room for some accessories. So I guess if Batman, you know, needs some place to put his extra armor, you can just put it back there. Or you can put Gordon's gun, because he throws the gun back there and just hopes for the best. I'm just curious, could you get a villain back there in the back? So you got to take the Penguin downtown. You can see that there's not a lot of room. This looks hollow from back here. It's not. This is a solid block. It would have helped a little bit if it was, because you would have had a little more room, but it's not really happening. And have them setting like that from the back, and it's kind of a mess. It won't really work. The Penguin's kind of a bigger figure, so it's not really going to happen. Maybe if you had a smaller villain figure, you could put it back there. And you can see by a quick scale comparison, the Batmobile is quite a bit larger than the police car. I don't think this will hold true for the actual scale in the film, but it's also understandable because more of your resources and things will go into the Batmobile versus more of a generic police car. Do I think they look horrible together? No, not necessarily, but it's definitely worth noting that the Batmobile is quite a bit larger than the police car. Here they are from another angle. Perhaps it's my years of collecting Transformers and seeing motorcycles look like 3 times larger than a car that has kind of numbed me to the difference between vehicles in the same scale. Your mileage may vary, just like the mileage in a car varies. I'm sorry. With this Walmart exclusive set, I have to say I walk away feeling quite satisfied with my $32 purchase. Although the police car doesn't have the lights and sound features that the Batmobile does, I think it does a good job of feeling fairly serviceable to the actual film vehicle. I do think it's cool to actually get a Gotham police car, something we have never gotten before in I think any Batman line. So it is a kind of a step in a new direction and definitely a fun Walmart exclusive. Of course, the best part of this is getting the cool Jeffrey Wright Jim Gordon figure. I'm not exactly sure that there's any plans to release him any other way. It definitely makes me pine for things like an Alfred figure and especially, a Riddler figure. That continues to be a mystery, but we'll see. Maybe they'll announce one here pretty soon. Do I like it as much as the Batmobile? No. The Batmobile is definitely a huge favorite of mine, and I think one of the very best purchases you can make in this line. But the figure it comes with, just the standard Batman, isn't nearly as desirable as this exclusive Jim Gordon. So I suppose that you're trading out that level of fun and the lights and the sounds and things for getting this exclusive figure. And it's not a bad vehicle at all. Getting a 3 3/4 police car at such an affordable price is great. Not only could you use the police car for this, but you could use it for a lot of different things. You could probably easily acetone out the Gotham City part on the police car and just have it be a generic one. But the Gotham City part doesn't really bother me at all, so I probably won't have to do that to use it with my G.I. Joes. In the end, I would definitely suggest that you do pick this up. It was a lot of fun, and I think it's a great little exclusive item for Walmart, with Gordon and Batman both being worth around $8 a piece. That means that for the police car itself, you're only paying about $16, which I think is pretty good for a police car in this scale. And at $32, it's hard to lose. Of course, friends, I sure do thank you all for watching today. We're going to be doing many more reviews with the Batman products from both Spin Master and hopefully McFarlane if I can find them here pretty soon. We definitely want you to stick around and catch those as well. Of course, we'll probably have some sort of discussion or review about the Batman film, which we'll be seeing very soon. So make sure you subscribe so you can check that out. Of course, it does help the channel out if you do like the video, and it helps to share it with others. And be sure to subscribe if you haven't yet. As always, God bless you and yours, and I'll see you on Fanboys Forever. Fanboy out. What are you looking at? Stop it.